or less by the end of financial year 2019-2020, and also maintaining adequate funding for social expenditure. Now, we're just giving projections. Governor General objectives for the financial year.
On your screen earlier, we saw students of St. George's Primary taking in the ceremonial opening of Parliament, catching a glimpse of their Prime Minister and, of course, the members of government, members of the Senate and the House of Representatives. Now, Theo, the ceremonial opening of Parliament marks the beginning of a new legislative year. And as you mentioned earlier, the Governor General in his throne speech will outline the policy direction of the government for the 2019-2020 fiscal year, legislative year.
We're both of the chamber, but Lorraine has just come on a wonderful
We know that plans are on building it will act further. Is it up down circle land?
Absolutely.
So our competition is now underway for the design of a new parliamentary building. 5 teams of and
Designs are also being displayed on social media. Design on Instagram the other day. So they're ensuring that everybody see and experience.
And they're actually encouraging persons to vote on their favorite design.
Absolutely.
So in this way, Jamaicans also have a say how our new parliament building will look, how the seat of our legislature will look.
An aerial view of our China street line on a
There has been great hope across the country and action towards prosperity. This is creating on the horizon a new Jamaica of which we all can be proud. Although for some it is viewed as a mere ritual, the throne speech plays an important role in outlining the priorities of the government for the new financial year, bringing together all arms of the state in partnership towards building the new and the prosperous Jamaica. It serves a a purpose deep beyond tradition, as it outlines the legislative agenda for the Parliament, the policy agenda for the executive, and the general direction of government. We started 2019 on a positive note, following one of the most successful years economically and socially in the country's modern history. Employment in Jamaica has never been higher. The period of economic growth has been sustained across 15 quarters. Significant infrastructure projects across the island that promise to enhance efficiency and productivity are underway. Substantial progress has been made towards a safer and a more secure Jamaica. Honorable members, crime and violence continue to be the greatest threat to the peace of the nation. Unity of purpose, commitment and determination from all Jamaicans and agencies of the state are required to overcome this challenge. It requires a shared vision, strategic planning, skill and the dexterity in execution for us to achieve the peaceful and prosperous Jamaica that we all want. This administration has put in place tough and resolute measures to tackle crime. It must be noted that we had some success in 2018 with reductions in serious and violent crimes, Category 1, including 22% reduction in murders, 22% reduction in shootings, 15% reduction in robberies, 12% reduction in rape. The government will continue on its multi-dimensional path of increasing the safety and security of all Jamaicans. While applauding the successes, we can also acknowledge that challenges remain. These challenges must focus our minds and galvanize our collective efforts towards effective solutions that can bring forward the new Jamaica we all seek. This must lead to sobering thoughts, concrete actions, and redoubling of our individual and collective efforts to build partnerships toward a prosperous Jamaica. We need to get it right to build our great nation and our new Jamaica. A Jamaica where we respect each other. We are peaceful and safe. We have a society characterized by equity and justice. We have access to opportunities to learn and improve. We have prospects to earn through gainful employment. We can all save, invest, and prosper. Honorable members, in order to achieve this, all branches of the Jamaican state, the entire government, all ministries, departments, and agencies must work seamlessly to achieve the desired outcomes, cognizant that their respective roles form a part of an entire solution. The Public Sector Transformation and Modernization Program remains a priority for the government to improve the quality of service delivery to the people of Jamaica. Following extensive consultations last year, a service excellence policy was developed and will be submitted to Cabinet shortly. This will form part of the government's thrust to transform and modernize the operations of the public sector, as rationalizing services will be even more critical in the future. This will be done through shared services, mergers, and divestments. In doing this, we will achieve a smaller, focused, more efficient and coherent group of public bodies. Inefficiencies in the procurement process across government must be addressed. A comprehensive public procurement training certification program and framework geared towards strengthening the capacity of public sector procurement practitioners was undertaken. 1,115 procurement practitioners were trained. The Office of the Cabinet has continued to strengthen results-based management across government ministries and selected departments and agencies in the areas of strategic planning, monitoring and evaluation, and performance reporting. Honorable members, consultations are continuing with civil society groups, government entities, and the private sector to further refine the draft regulations for the National Identification and Registration Authority Act. The government will continue the digitization of the records of the Registrar General's Department, work on the business process for enrollment, vetting, quality control, issuance, renewals, and consent-based identity verification in preparation for transitioning to a digital economy. The Housing Opportunity Production and Employment, HOPE initiative, is a training and apprenticeship program that provides an opportunity for the development of young persons through a system of National Service Corps in specific skill areas. The program engages unattached youth between 18 and 24 years old in training, education, or employment. Across all ministries, HOPE interns have played an important role and have been engaged in a range of functions, including electronic records management, surveys, filing, data loss preventative maintenance, vector control, construction, audit, and other duties. They are contributing daily while improving their employability. In order to facilitate an efficient focus on human capital development, the Human Employment and Resource Training Amendment Act will be tabled in this legislative year. The Apprenticeship Act and the National Youth Service Act will be repealed, and the functions of the Apprenticeship Board, the National Youth Service, and the Jamaican Foundation for Lifelong Learning will be vested in the Heart Trust. Honorable members, the Jamaican economy has recorded 15 consecutive quarters of economic growth. Several economic indicators point to vibrancy in the Jamaican economy and optimism among economic agents. Inflation remains low. Investment inflows are strong. Job growth is at record levels. Jamaica's net international reserves are robust, and the country's debt to gross domestic product is expected to be below 100% by the end of the fiscal year 2018-29. These are positive signs on which to build a firm foundation for a prosperous and new Jamaica for all. Indeed, Jamaica is on a path to economic independence. In that regard, international partners have commended Jamaica's performance on several counts. Fitch Ratings Agency recently upgraded the government of Jamaica's long-term foreign currency issuer and local currency issuer default rating to B+ from B and revised the outlook to stable from positive. The agency also upgraded the country's ceiling to B from B, representing Jamaica's highest credit rating in over 10 years. The government remains committed to the continuation of policies and programs that enable a stable macroeconomic environment that facilitates the economic growth required for sustainable and inclusive development. In keeping with the thrust to improve corporate governance, Cabinet approved the policy guidelines for the nomination, selection, and appointment of boards of public bodies and the issuance of drafting instructions to the Chief Parliamentary Council for the drafting of regulations to be informed by the sections of the policy guidelines. Cabinet also approved the establishment of an independent fiscal council for Jamaica as part of measures to strengthen Jamaica's fiscal responsibility framework, the FRF. The Fiscal Council will be an independent, non-partisan institution with the responsibility of helping to promote economically sustainable fiscal policies, monitoring the government's compliance with the fiscal rules, and informing the public on economic matters. A bill to modernize Jamaica's central bank and make inflation targeting the cornerstone of monetary policy is before a joint select committee of Parliament. A modernized and strengthened central bank will institutionalize and entrench low, stable, and predictable inflation, which is a critical platform for any modern society. Ensuring access to finance and deepening financial inclusion is a key objective of the government. As such, the Microcredit Act will be tabled. That will provide a legislative framework for the private microcredit lending sector. Legislation to amend the Cooperative Societies Act and introduction of a prudential regulatory regime for credit unions will strengthen deposit insurance and reduce risk. Tax Administration Jamaica, TAJ, and the Jamaica Customs Agency, JCA, continue technology enhancements as part of measures to make revenue collection seamless, efficient, and effective. The JCA plays a crucial role in revenue collection and border security activities. The Customs Act will be modernized through the repeal of the existing act and replaced with a new act to be tabled this year. This year, Customs will bolster its non-intrusive inspection program, NIIP, through expansion and utilization of more modern cargo imaging scanners, fixed portal and mobile X-ray scanners with the use of X-ray technology for imports and exports at the marine ports and warehouses in Kingston and Montego Bay. Public financial management, PFM, including disaster risk management, border security, and sound public policies that will result in greater domestic savings, debt reduction, faster economic growth, and better social production or protection will also be a priority. Honorable members, in 2018, the government delivered on its commitment to institute stringent measures to disrupt criminal networks, protect our borders, and meet the challenges of the future by embracing technology and improving intra- and intercooperation and coordination. Addressing crime and violence is one of the most challenging tasks that require practical initiatives supported by robust legislative and policy frameworks. In this regard, to drive further security improvement, we require new legislation and/or amendments to existing legislation, including the Police Act. This will provide for the modernization and transformation of the Jamaica Constabulary Force. It is now ready for approval by Cabinet and will be tabled this year. The Enhanced Security Measures Act will be developed and tabled this year. It must be noted that this act requires focused unity of purpose as we must speak with one voice. The National Security Council Act, which will introduce legislation to provide for the establishment in law of the National Security Council. Merger of the Police Services Commission and the Police Civilian Oversight Authority to facilitate the development of one oversight body responsible for the monitoring and evaluation of the performance of the police. Amendments to the Criminal Justice Suppression of Criminal Organizations Act, which is currently before a joint select committee of Parliament. This will be completed. Regulations to the Major Organized Crime and Anti-Corruption Agency, MOCA Act, are currently being prepared to give the necessary support. Amendments to the Firearms Act will be made to strengthen the legislation in keeping with international standards and obligations of the Government of Jamaica. Amendments to the Proceeds of Crime Act, POCA, will ensure compliance with the recommendations of the Caribbean Financial Action Task Force, CFATF, the Mutual Evaluation of Jamaica, conducted in 2016, as well as to update the Act for greater effectiveness. In furthering the security of Jamaica, this year the government has allocated significant capital expenditure for national security and defense. Honorable members, the government has been fostering synergies to drive economic growth in several areas consistent with its growth policy. The government will seek to increase the capacity of Jamaica's economy to produce goods and services. In so doing, the government aims to create the conditions for sustained growth by improving the ease of doing business in Jamaica, increasing Jamaica's resilience to environmental hazards and climate change, improving Jamaica's trade competitiveness, and providing opportunities for safe, affordable, and legal housing, among others. The government recognizes the need to promote efficient, sustainable, and inclusive development to ensure interconnectivity and properly functioning ecosystems. This guides the work done under its portfolio in the areas of water, works, housing, land, environment, climate change, and investments. Importantly, this year the government will undertake a comprehensive multi-agency national survey of squatter settlements to accurately ascertain the extent of squatting in the country. It will also provide critical socioeconomic, demographic, and environmental information on these settlements that will inform the policy development process as well as intervention strategies. This year, the government will unveil a new social housing program, SHP, which will see the provision of indigent housing, relocation of vulnerable communities, and the upgrading of tenements or big yards. The new SHP will be administered under the housing component of the Hope through which employment opportunities will be provided for Hope interns. Drafting instructions are now being finalized for the amendments to the Registration Strata Titles Act, the Real Estate Dealers and Developers Act, the Timeshare Vacations Act, to give effect to the establishment of the Real Estate Authority of Jamaica for greater efficiency. The government will also bring legislation to regularize communities with shared amenities not governed by the Registration Strata Titles Act. The National Housing Trust is delivering on its policy direction to build more houses for Jamaicans. By providing greater access to funding and driving the creation of more housing solutions to the market, the NHT will be increasing its thrust to make home ownership a reality for more Jamaicans in 2019, 2020, and beyond. Additionally, the Trust will review its construction management processes, redesign and enhance its customer-facing systems, and implement an improved contributions accounting management system. The NHT strategic review, which was already tabled, will be debated in this Honourable House this year. This review will strategically inform the approach to the housing sector. This year, your government will table the National Investment Policy and the implementation of the action plan to improve the environment for both local and foreign investors. The policy to divest or seek public ownership in government continues. Norman Manley International Airport has been divested. The initial public offering, IPO, for the Wigton Wind Farm should be placed on the Jamaica Stock Exchange by March of this year, and there are others to be announced soon. The government continues engagement with various stakeholders, including the people, towards the government campus development for the modernization and development of the National Heroes Park and surrounding lands. The Houses of Parliament project continues apace with designs for a new Parliament building through a competition. This year, the government will complete the procurement of the relevant expertise for a feasibility study and social impact assessment. The government will be completing all the major infrastructure legacy projects underway in Kingston, St. Catherine, and Westmoreland. In addition, the administration will also embark on major roadworks in the eastern section of the country to include St. Thomas and Portland, as well as to continue the major activities linking Clarendon to Manchester via the East-West Toll Road. This with the intention to make the road network more resilient through the construction of bridges, retaining walls, and other features. Honourable members, a sustainable environment and climate resilience are critical to economic growth. This year, the government will amend the Natural Resources Conservation Authority NRCA Act, the Forestry Act, the Wildlife Protection Act, and the Watersheds Protection Act in its effort to strengthen the regulatory framework governing the management and sustainable use of our country's biological and natural resources. The government has successfully implemented the first phase of the ban on some plastic packaging materials. And has announced its support of the private sector-led initiative to institute a deposit refund system on plastic bottles. This emanated from discussions at the National Partnership Council. The removal of these plastic from the waste stream will reduce the amount that end up in our gullies and other waterways, contributing to flooding in many urban centers. This year, the government will continue its focus on water by a significant increase in the budgetary allocation for rural water. The government continues to address the current challenges and will shortly announce some interim measures to improve the provision of consistent potable water to the areas affected. Honorable members, continued focus will be placed on ensuring that an orderly society is created through fulfillment of the various stages of the life cycle. The government, through its strategies and programs, is committed to ensuring seamless transition from the early childhood through to the primary, secondary, and tertiary levels. Government has kept its commitment to examine the subsidies for secondary level students sitting exit examinations in 2019. It will cover the costs of all fees associated with examinations for up to 8 subjects for students on PATH and wards of the state who are eligible to receive that support. Through various partnerships and initiatives, over 6,000 computers and aided devices are being provided to schools at all levels. Additionally, in terms of infrastructure and to further integrate all students in the school community, some 111 primary schools were identified for the construction of ramps for access to students with physical challenges. At a cost of $50 million. This is being done along with other infrastructure work in schools to maintain and improve the plants. This legislative year, the government will bring amendments to the Child Care and Protection Act and the Education Act and regulations, while the new Higher Education Commission Act and regulations and the Jamaica Teaching Council Act and regulations will also be brought for your approval. Ministry of Local Government and Community Development. The government achieved some critical milestones over the past year. Of note was the enactment of the Building Act 2018, which has been in effect since January 15, 2019. The Act provides standards for the built environment, including the establishment of the building code, qualification of construction workers, and access for the physically challenged. For this legislative year, the Ministry of Local Government will procure 100 garbage collection units for the National Solid Waste Management Authority, NSWMA. This will significantly broaden the capacity of the agency and improve responsiveness. 3 key regulations governing solid facilities regulations. This will seek to regulate the kinds of material which may be disposed of at a disposal site and the manner in which such disposal is done. Secondly, the National Solid Waste Management Public Cleansing Regulations, which will outline the full schedule of penalties for all breaches of the Act and Lastly, the National Solid Waste Management Authority disposal of hazardous waste, electronic and electrical regulations and order, which will provide for the disposal of hazardous wastes to include electronic and electrical items. The Jamaica Fire Brigade will secure 8 pumpers in the 2019-2020 financial year. The agency will also acquire 20 life rafts for flooding and swift water rescue. These equipment will strengthen the brigade's ability to respond to emergencies across the country. The government continues to work on the Human Services Bill, which will come before this Honorable House this year to replace the Poor Relief Act, abolish the Board of Supervision, transfer the functions of the board to the ministry, and modernize the structures through which human services are provided. Regulations to the Local Governance Act and the Local Government Financing and Financial Management Act to give operational meaning and clarity to the new standards of governance and the new regime concerning the financing of local government. These are expected to be concluded and taken before this Honorable House for your consideration. This year, the government will continue priority focus on the promotion of a healthy and active lifestyle to alleviate the effects of non-communicable diseases, its burden on individuals and the health system. The Jamaica Moves program continues to encourage Jamaicans to get moving to improve their health. The government will continue to review its health service delivery model, health and governance arrangements with the aim of improving efficiency of the public health system and providing better health outcomes. Among the achievements last year, the government expanded and strengthened the capacity of the public health sector to provide oncology service to combat the cancer epidemic through the operationalization of 2 linear accelerator LINAC machines, which are located at the St. Joseph's Hospital in Kingston and the Cornwall Regional Hospital in Montego Bay. Another significant achievement saw access to National Health Fund drugs at private pharmacies without sole dependence on hospitals or drug-served pharmacies through the government's public sector pharmacy program. The government will further strengthen health services delivery this year. 3 major hospitals, Spanish Town, Maypen, and St. Anne's Bay, have been targeted for service upgrades in keeping with population expansion and the increased need for specialist medical services. The government will be pursuing the development of a bill for comprehensive tobacco legislation in keeping with the country's obligations under the Framework Convention on Tobacco Control. The objective of this bill is to address areas not adequately covered in the existing legislation, which includes tobacco advertising, promotion and sponsorship, as well as the prohibition of sales of all forms of tobacco and its products to minors. Additionally, the government will be developing a national policy for the reduction of the harmful use of alcohol. The main objectives of the policy will be to regulate the advertising, promotion, and sponsorship of alcoholic products, strengthen the health response to the harmful use, reduce road traffic accidents as a result of the use of alcohol, and to monitor and evaluate the public health surveillance measures. Honorable members, Jamaica scored a major victory with the inscription of reggae music to the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization. That is to UNESCO's list of intangible global cultural heritage of humanity. This demonstrates that reggae music has served to foster better understanding of musical art as a tool for promoting dialogue among people and appreciating cultural diversity among ethnic groups worldwide. Our cultural heritage is important. In 2018, your government encouraged social inclusion through entrepreneurial training, capacity building, and development to enable communities such as Port Royal and others to take advantage of the opportunities from World Heritage designation. For this legislative year, the government will seek to amend the Jamaica National Heritage Trust, JNHT Act, to align Jamaica's valuable cultural heritage with global designation benchmarks and further promote Jamaica's culture. The Cultural and Creative Economy Act, as well as the Entertainment Industry Act, will also be brought to this Honorable House for approval. There will be continued review of key pieces of legislation to support the elimination of gender-based violence, including the Domestic Violence Act, Offences Against the Persons Act, and Sexual Offences Act. The Prevention of Sexual Harassment Bill will also be tabled. In the area of sports, the government will conclude a review of the national sport policy along with a study of the contribution of sport to national development and employment. Honorable members, additional responsibilities were assigned to the Ministry of Industry, Commerce, Agriculture and Fisheries in 2018 with the inclusion of JAMPRO, the Exim Bank, Agro-Investment Corporation and the National Irrigation Commission. These assignments to the ministry serve to add to the breadth and scope of its strategic objectives in accordance with its commitment to contribute to the Government of Jamaica's strategic priority of sustainable economic growth and job creation. Increased production and productivity in infrastructure development and supporting of the MSME sector will be the main focus. To grow domestic production, keen focus will be paid to crops and meat that support the import substitution agenda, as well as increased sales, exports, and large investors through targeting of CARICOM, the diaspora and school feeding programs, hotel and restaurants. The government through RADA will continue the rehabilitation of approximately 1,000 kilometers of farm roads. In addition, to embarking on an infrastructure development program for agro-parks and agro-economic zones. Members of this Honorable House, strategic priorities for the government continue to be social protection, human capital development, and inclusive sustainable job creation and economic growth. Last September, PATH commenced the payment of a back-to-school grant with approximately 560 million Jamaican dollars disbursed through this initiative, not just the initiative, but through this new initiative, with 160,000 students receiving grants of $3,500 each. This will be an annual benefit paid to school children on PATH in the month of August. In order to promote financial inclusion, improve administrative efficiency, and reduce costs while ensuring greater accessibility and ease of collecting benefits, the government will be fully implementing the automated electronic payments to some 128,000 PATH beneficiary families. The government will also undertake a program to transition PATH families from welfare to work. As part of a focus on the aged population who have a wealth of knowledge and experience, we will seek to increase access to employment for older persons through the National Council for Senior Citizens Golden Age Support Program. Honorable members, last year a total of 16,749 workers were placed in employment overseas through the Ministry of Labor and Social Security, and another 2,879 were placed through private employment agencies monitored by the MLSS. In the upcoming legislative year, the government will continue the review of the National Insurance Act and regulations, complete revision of the National Policy for Senior Citizens, and finalize the regulations and codes of practice on education and training and employment in support of the Disabilities Act. Following the most successful year in tourism in 2018, the government will set even higher targets for continued sustainable growth in that sector. The government is therefore working to attract and facilitate new public and private investments, developing and opening new destinations and attractions, training and certifying more tourism workers, supporting and facilitating more entrepreneurs and innovators, and integrating more technology into tourism products and services to drive productivity and make the tourism experience more fulfilling and seamless. The government will continue its innovation through partnership with the Tourism Enhancement Fund and the Exim Bank, offering special loan facilities to small tourism enterprises. The facility offers loan of between $5 to $25 million to enable continued growth and sustainable development of the tourism sector. Starting this year, the program will be expanded to allow micro-sized tourism enterprise to access loans of less than $5 million. After much consultation with the industry, for this legislative year, the government will table the Tourism Workers Pension Bill and regulations. This bill will give tourism workers secure welfare during their retirement. The government will also seek the approval of this Honorable House to amend the Tourist Board Act to modernize the provisions of the Act and its regulations and strengthen the enforcement provisions. The government will also seek to amend the Travel Agency Act and regulations to bring more modern provisions in keeping with global industry standards. Honorable members, The government will be pursuing 4 main priority areas that are geared towards contributing to its strategic priority of inclusive, sustainable economic growth and job creation, and the Millennium Development Goal 7 to ensure environmental stability. The government will prioritize the development of an integrated transport system, land, rail, sea, and air, implementation of the Road Traffic Act, establishment of the Island Traffic Authority as a statutory body, promotion and expansion of the mineral sector, the transport and mining sectors are poised to play a crucial role in the transformation and development of Jamaica. With the passage of the new Road Traffic Act and the introduction of a dedicated police unit to address public safety and good order, the public can expect to see a return to discipline and order on our roads. This year, the Transport Authority Act will be amended to allow for a new system to be implemented to address renewal of license on birthdays and extended license. The Jamaica Urban Transport Company, JUTC, underwent significant technological innovations to reduce losses and enhance rider experience. These strategies will be intensified in the coming legislative years. Bauxite and alumina have produced many benefits to the Jamaican economy. Even after more than 50 years of mining in Jamaica, there are still huge quantities of high-quality bauxite available. The revitalization of the global and local industries is to be evidenced by the reopening and expansion of closed bauxite alumina plants. We will be improving the laboratory and begin upgrading the mines and geology department so that it can respond to the needs of a dynamic and demanding industry. The implementation of the first phase of the privatization of the railway, Montego Bay to Appleton, will be pursued this year. To include, in addition to rail-related implementation activities, facilitating the relocation of squatters, informal settlers, from within the rail reservation. Honourable members, government is taking a multi-pronged approach to implementing innovations and leveraging synergies. In this regard, the Authority of Jamaica has devised and commenced further upgrades of the increase in commercial passenger movement and general aviation travel. Honourable members, the government engaged in spearheading the most consequential modernization of the court system in Jamaica to date. In 2018, the new Court of Appeal building in downtown Kingston was opened, along with several reforms to improve the delivery of justice across the country. The government will continue to rehabilitate and make new investments in critical physical court infrastructure and new technologies to increase efficiency. Additionally, this year the ministry will establish 6 justice centers island-wide to coordinate resolution activities and enable easier access to justice services by members of the public. With the completion of these justice centers, the ministry would have full version facilities, justice centers, fully operational as at March 2020. This year, the St. Catherine Family Court in Spanish Town will be completed to reduce the large cases of family court matters in that parish. Architectural designs are being completed to support the construction of a regional judicial complex, a regional Supreme Court, High Court, and Family Court in Western Jamaica to co-locate justice services to address infrastructural gaps and judicial complexes in St. Anne, St. James, and Manchester. The government will implement an electronic case management system across the justice sector to ensure the timely disposal of cases and complete the installation of video and audio technology in 78 courtrooms across 19 courts to facilitate video evidence and electronic recording of evidence. This year, amendments will be made to Public Defense National Human Rights Institute, law reform notice of alibi bill, to include the requirement for defense counsel to give notice of their intention to rely on an alibi, and amendment of the Indicom Act, a proposal to widen the power of the Commission, example, powers akin to a constable's power.